Back at camp, Hannah sits with Alec, telling him she's not happy at all right now. Alec then asks her why she even tried voting Steph out behind his back, and Hannah says she thought she could make the move happen with Julian. Julian and Steph can then be heard laughing in the distance together, and Hannah says it's very clear what the divide is right now. 2 versus 2. In confessional, Hannah says she did not expect Julian to use the information she gave him to then help keep Steph and make a move of his own. It just shows that Steph and Julian are a final 2 deal this whole time, so she needs to proceed with Alec this round and take one of those 2 out. Alec then tells Hannah that he's very much aware of how dangerous those 2 are going to be now, and Hannah tells him that no matter what, Steph or Julian need to go next. No question. No backstabbing. No betraying. Please. Alec says he won't, and in confessional, Alec admits that last tribal was just perplexing. It can't get more wild than that. Steph and Julian took out Garth in such a crazy way, and that'll probably bond them together to where they want to take each other to final 2. He needs to make sure Steph doesn't flip on their final 2 deal, so he needs to have some serious chats with her tomorrow. It's now day 32, and the final 4 arrive to the challenge mat for their next immunity challenge. Hannah hands back the necklace to Justin, and then Justin proceeds to explain today's challenge rules. In this, they must stack barrels on top of each other each time they are ordered to do so. If at any point their stack falls over, they are out. They can use the cart next to them to climb up higher when the stack gets higher. The last player standing wins immunity, safe from the vote tonight. With that, everyone stands at their station, and Justin orders them to stack a new barrel on top of the base barrel. Everyone does so successfully, so Justin orders them to do their next barrel. Everyone puts on their 3rd barrel successfully, so Justin orders them to put the 4th barrel on the stack. Everyone's 4th barrel gets stacked successfully, so it's on to the 5th barrel, which they also manage to do so successfully. A 6th barrel then gets stacked, followed by a 7th. Everyone then stacks their 8th barrel, and Steph tries to straighten her stack a bit better. But then, it tips over, meaning she is the first eliminated from this challenge. 3 people remain in this challenge as they stack their 9th barrel, that being Julian, Alec, and Hannah. Everyone then stacks their 10th barrel, and Hannah does so from the cart. The 11th barrel then gets stacked, so both Alec and Julian use the cart now. The 12th barrel then gets stacked, followed by number 13. As everyone prepares for their 14th barrel, Julian curses out loud as he notices his 13th barrel on the edge of the stack. Meanwhile, as Hannah goes to grab her 14th barrel, her entire stack finally gives in and tips over, meaning she is eliminated from this challenge. It's time for Alec and Julian to place their 14th barrel on their own stack, so Julian watches Alec do it first. As Alec gets up onto the hay bale, he stands up with the barrel in hand, but as he leans forward, he goes too far and falls into his stack, meaning Julian has 1 individual immunity. Steph then goes over to Alec, asking if he's okay, and he says he's fine. Back on the mat, Justin invites Julian up, so he heads up and receives his necklace. Justin confirms he will not be going to jury tonight. As for the rest, someone will be the 19th person voted out of Survivor China and become the 8th juror. With that, everyone makes their way back to camp, and in confessional, Julian says he can't believe he secured his spot in Final 3. Last night, his game almost ended if it wasn't for his great work to convince Steph to use her idol on him. Now, he's immune with an immunity necklace, and he can finally enter tribal council without the worry of being voted off. Back at camp, Steph hugs Julian and tells him he did amazing today, and Julian thanks her. In confessional, Steph says she will need to talk with Alec today and make sure they aren't on different pages for this vote. There's literally only one option on the table tonight, and that's Hannah. They need to keep it that way. Alec and Julian talk, and Alec congratulates him for his win again. Julian admits that him and Hannah looked so unhappy because of him winning, and Alec laughs awkwardly, telling him he's just really tired from the heat if he's being honest. It's nothing against him. Julian then asks Alec if he sees Steph as a threat to win this game, and Alec says it's tough to assess. He gets that Steph made a lot of moves, but also there's Hannah who is a major underdog. Julian nods and says he wants to make the right move tonight, so he is keeping all of the options open. In confessional, Alec says that this vote is one of the biggest decisions for him. Julian is his only opposition remaining, and now he's immune. That leaves Steph and Hannah. He has had a final two with Steph this whole season, but they've screwed each other over multiple times in order to have better pitches for the final tribal council. Hannah on the other hand has promised multiple times she'd take him to final two, and quite honestly, she could beat Julian in a challenge rather than Steph. It's truly a tough situation for him. Hannah and Steph meanwhile chat at camp, and Hannah asks if she knows where she's voting. Steph tells her she's doing Alec. He's the threat to win it all, so now is their chance because they have 3 votes. Hannah says she's on board, and in confessional, Hannah says she is trying to set up an Alec versus Steph fire-making showdown. She doesn't want to be in the fire-making herself, so these 2 big players should just fight it out tonight in a good old fire-making duel. Steph later goes to Alec, telling him she's voting Hannah tonight. It shouldn't be a surprise. Alec says it's not shocking because he trusts their final 2 deal. In confessional, Steph says she knows how much of a loyal player Alec is, especially to his original Snakes tribe. He never flipped on them unless they flipped on him. Insert Jeannie and Julian in that bracket. Alec isn't going to choose to keep Hannah over her. It would go against his whole notion of playing a loyal game. Steph then asks Alec if they are good to go with the Hannah vote, and Alec says of course. He'll just need to talk with Hannah though so she doesn't get suspicious and suddenly team up with Julian. Alec then talks with Hannah, telling her they're probably just doing Steph tonight. Hannah squints and asks him what he means by probably, and Alec says he's doing Steph. That's what he meant. Hannah reluctantly says okay, and in confessional, Hannah admits she's getting weird vibes from Alec. How is he not certain about voting Steph out? It's literally only 2 options for him. There's no way he'd work with Steph tonight after everything she did against him recently, right? That would be insane if he actually still trusts her after all of this. Before tribal council, Julian asks Steph if she's being for real this time about voting Alec out. Steph says she is. There's no other good choice for them. In confessional, Julian says he really hopes Steph isn't tricking him again and she actually votes for Alec this time. It would be nice to finally send this man to jury as one of his lifelong goals in this game. If Alec stays, that would be stupid as fuck. But then again, should he be shocked if Alec stays? Steph is a masterful liar, so she could pull the trigger on whoever she prefers. Maybe she'll work with Alec to vote Hannah out. Who knows at this point because Steph does whatever floats her boat. It's night 32, and the tribe arrives to tribal council. Justin welcomes them and also introduces their newest juror, Garth. Justin first turns to Julian, congratulating him on his first individual immunity. Julian thanks him, and Justin asks if this is something that perhaps brings him hope that he'll make it to Final 2, considering he felt miserable these past few tribals. Julian then says he feels blessed to have reached Final 3, and now there's just that one final challenge he has to get through and hopefully win. Justin then asks Hannah if herself, Alec, and Steph have a general idea of how tonight's vote will end up going, but Hannah says she doesn't fully know what will happen. There's been a lot of weird communication going on at camp. Justin then asks her what she means by that, and Hannah says she just doesn't know who is with who at this point because everyone spoke with everyone in one-on-one chats. There's only 4 people here, so it's not like a big tribe where you only talk to select people. Steph agrees and says it's much harder to read people as you get down to the wire. There are fewer votes being cast, which means there's higher odds of a big flip happening. It can take just 1 vote to completely change tonight's outcome. Justin then asks Alec what tonight's vote is about for him, and Alec says he just wants to have good odds of reaching Final 2. There might be a chance he doesn't win that final challenge, and in that case, he wants to have good odds of being saved by the immunity winner. Justin asks Julian if he feels like that's what everyone's goal is for tonight, and Julian says that it's different for someone like himself because his main goal is just taking out a threat that could win this whole game. They only have 2 more votes here, so he needs to prioritize his jury chances right now. Hannah agrees and says that everyone here tonight needs to think about what the jury wants to see. They want to be impressed, and so far, they might not be as impressed. Julian then comments that he has been wanting to make some big moves out here, but the rest of them never wanted to. Justin then says that it might be a good time to get to this vote, and as a reminder, if tonight's vote ties, there will be a fire-making challenge. It's now time to vote.
I'll tally the votes. Hidden immunity idols are no longer in play, so I'll read the votes. First vote, Steph. Alec. 1 vote Steph, 1 vote Alec. Hannah. That's 1 vote Steph, 1 vote Alec, 1 vote Hannah. 1 vote left. 19th person voted out of Survivor China and the 8th member of the jury. Hannah.
Hannah sighs and gets up, stating out loud how much of a bummer this is. Adam frowns from the jury bench, and Maria grins as Hannah puts her torch down next to Justin. Justin then snuffs her torch, and she turns around and wishes the final 3 luck. They all thank her and say goodbye, and she begins walking out. Julian then shakes his head and smirks, and Steph apologizes to him for lying again. Justin then sends the final 3 back to camp, so they start making their way out. Hannah's final thoughts. Hannah feels like Survivor was an experience that taught her how strong she is both mentally and physically. It takes a lot to play this game for 32 days. A lot of enduring. Getting to Final 4 is still something she'll be proud of, even though she was literally 2 days away from potentially winning the whole season. She believes Steph and Alec voted her out tonight, which is a huge mistake on Alec's part. He needed to take out Steph if he wanted a chance at reaching Final 2. Now, he has to take himself there, and who knows if he can even win that final challenge. It's day 33, and the final 3 arrive to the challenge mat. Justin says good morning to them, asking them if they are ready for this final challenge showdown. They all nod, so Justin invites Julian up to hand back the necklace. Julian then hands it back, and Justin claims that immunity is up for grabs one final time. In this, the 3 of them will stand on a log above water and need to remain up there for the entire challenge. It's that simple. The catch is that there will be rain today, and they will only have their swimwear on, making it more difficult to endure that rain. The last player standing on the log will win final immunity. They will be guaranteed a spot in Final 2, and there will also be the deciding vote tonight as to who heads to jury last. The 3 then stand on their own individual logs, and Justin claims that this challenge is now on. They need to stand on their log and never sit down. Justin then asks Steph how much this challenge means to her right now, and Steph says she obviously would love to win it, but even if she doesn't, she hopes these two boys see value in taking her to Final 2. Justin then asks Julian if he thinks either of Alec or Steph will take him to Final 2, and Julian says he thinks he's fighting for himself today. Justin then asks Alec the same question, and Alec says he knows Julian wants his head on a stick, so that's all he'll say. Julian then comments that you never know what will go down, and Steph smirks. An hour has now passed in this challenge, and rain begins to fall on them. Justin then says that there's also wind coming in now, so it'll bring the temperature much lower. All three shiver from the cold, but they all stay standing on their logs. As the rain pours harder, Steph shivers the most from the cold, and her legs begin to tremble. 30 minutes pass by, and Justin confirms they have been up there for an hour and 30 minutes now. Julian hugs himself, trying to keep himself a bit warmer, and Alec tries to jump up and down to keep his body from freezing. Another few minutes pass, and Steph decides to jump into the water, eliminating her from this challenge. Justin then claims that it's now down to Julian and Alec in this challenge, meaning one of them will get the opportunity to eliminate one final player from this game. Both Julian and Alec shiver but remain on their logs, and another hour ends up passing by. Then, another hour passes again. Then, 30 minutes. Justin then claims they've been up there for 4 hours and 10 minutes, and Julian starts dozing off. Alec continues to move his body around, trying to endure the cold rain and winds. Julian continues feeling off, and then, he suddenly falls over and into the water. That means Alec has one final immunity, guaranteeing his spot in the Final 2. Alec then jumps into the water as well, and all three hug each other as they finally finish the challenge. Back on the mat, Justin calls up Alec, and both Steph and Julian clap for him as he heads up. Justin puts the necklace on him, and Alec says he can't believe his first individual immunity win would be the last and most crucial one of the season. Justin congratulates him, reminding that he will need to vote out either Steph or Julian tonight. Alec nods and Justin then sends the tribe back to camp to prepare for tonight's tribal. In confessional, Alec gets emotional and says he didn't know if he would be capable of winning the final immunity challenge. These challenges have never been easy, but he knew he needed to win this one. This is for the superfan in him. Losing now was not an option. He just knows how excited his wife is watching this moment right now. She has always been in his thoughts this season, and that's what pushed him through. That's what got him past all of his hardships in this game, and even just life in general. It's night 33, and the final three sit down at tribal council. Justin then welcomes them and their second to last juror, Hannah. Justin firstly congratulates the three of them for reaching such a major milestone in this game, with this being the final vote off before there's no more players to be voted out. He turns to Alec first, asking him what it felt like to win this final, key challenge today. Alec says he never thought his first immunity win would be the final one of the season. Huge props to Julian because he put in quite the fight. Justin then turns to Julian, asking him if he felt like it was do or die for him today, and Julian breathes out and starts to cry. Steph then tells him he did amazing today, and Alec says the same. Julian then says he wanted to make Final 2 because it has always been such a dream. He was one challenge off from making the finale. Just one. And Alec beat him fair and square. Justin then asks Steph if she thinks Julian could be the symbol boot for Alec tonight, and Steph says she doesn't know what Alec is truly thinking tonight. It shouldn't be a surprise that the two of them worked together since the start, and now they can make Final 2 together. Julian then says he just doesn't know if Alec should even take the risk of bringing Steph to Final 2. There is a strong case for Steph right now, and it's the fact that she managed to take two of her closest allies to Final 3 who have been at each other's throats this entire merge. Justin then tells Steph that Julian seems to be bringing up a point against keeping her tonight, and Steph says she doesn't think words from Julian can really manipulate Alec's decision. Alec has already made up his mind most likely, so anything Julian says now is pointless. Julian then says that he just wants Alec to rethink his decision if he has been dead set on taking him out. He has a better fighting chance against him than Steph in those final 2 chairs. Steph has been controlling this entire merge, while he has been her shield this whole time. That's what she has been telling each and every person she eventually voted out, and that's the fact she couldn't vote out Alec due to him being a shield. Steph then says it has always been a cover-up to hide her final 2 with him, but Julian says that she made a final 2 with himself as well, so she has strategically brought 2 of her final 2 deals so they would take her to final 2. She knew she wouldn't win endgame challenges, so this was her best way of reaching the end. Justin then asks Alec if all of this information impacts his decision tonight, and Alec says he doesn't think so, but it's also pretty evident that there's some truth behind both of their arguments. Justin then asks Alec if he is ready to vote, and Alec says he is, though with a very heavy heart. Justin then tells him it's time to vote, so Alec breathes out and prepares to vote.
I'll get the vote. I'll read the vote. 20th person voted out of Survivor China and the 9th and final member of the jury. Steph.
Steph then gets up and says she's quite surprised, and Alec gets up, telling her she played a great game out here. Steph tells him to save the hug, and Julian sits in silence, still shocked by the outcome. Steph then puts her torch down next to Justin, and Justin snuffs the torch. Steph then makes her way out, and Alec looks down at the floor, unable to look at anyone. Justin then tells Alec and Julian that they have officially reached the final stage of this game, and tomorrow night, they'll face the jury of 9 and campaign for their votes to win. They have all the power tomorrow, so the 2 of them should take some time before then to come up with their final pitches. With that, Alec and Julian are sent back to camp, so they start making their way out. Steph's final thoughts. Steph says she still cannot believe she was voted out by Alec. He made a weak move tonight by taking Julian to the end. The blind side was completely unnecessary. It feels like he never planned to honor their final 2 deal, which honestly is just bullshit. Right now, she has no thoughts regarding what she'll do with her jury vote. She needs time to process what just happened and whether Alec made the right move or not. It's day 34, and Julian awakes from his sleep, seeing Alec sitting by the fire alone in silence. In confessional, Julian admits he did not see any scenario where Alec voted Steph out, and somehow, he actually decided to snipe her out with his vote. That was such a brutal blindside, and clearly, Steph wasn't happy. Neither were the jurors, quite frankly. Julian then sits across from Alec, asking him how he slept. Alec says he can't stop thinking about last night. He barely slept. Julian asks him what made him take her out, and Alec says he doesn't know. There's something about her game that just bothers him. It's like she truly was going to win against him. In confessional, Alec says he isn't taking Steph's elimination that easily. He just backstabbed his closest friend out here. However, she was his biggest competitor remaining. He came out here to win the game, not lose to a best friend. Steph might be upset, but she's a smart girl to realize that it was just a game move. In fact, it was his smartest move last night because Julian's entire game barely compares to her own. Julian then tells Alec that they have a very long day ahead of them, so they are going to be bored out of their minds. Alec says there's no boredom today because they need to prepare for their final pitches to the jury. With the evening slowly turning to night, Alec and Julian have to prepare to face the jury of 9 consisting of people they have voted out before. Alec has played an extremely dominant game from start to finish, gaining the trust of many people before eventually taking them out when needed. In confessional, Alec says he really wants to lean into this notion that he came out here to prove that loyalty matters in order to make it very far in this game. Not only did he reach Final 2, but his alliances all made it pretty far. Without keeping that loyalty strong, he wouldn't be here right now. He had to eventually outplay almost all of them before they could swing at him, and that he did successfully. Meanwhile, we have Julian, a huge underdog this season from start to finish. He started off playing the middle, and eventually went to rock bottom at the start of merge. However, he continued to keep a strong relationship with Steph that protected him from multiple tribal councils. In confessional, Julian says he really needs to surprise this jury tonight if he plans to win this game. He doesn't see how this vote ends up in a landslide, unless that landslide goes in Alec's favor. This final pitch needs to be exciting and strategically spoken. He needs to convince the jury why it would be better to crown him as the winner over Alec, despite Alec being such a huge presence in this game. It's night 34 now, and Julian and Alec sit down at tribal council, both staring at the jury of 9 ahead of them. Justin welcomes everyone to final tribal council night. Tonight is the chance for Alec and Julian to convince the jury of 9 as to why they should win this season of Survivor China. They will start off with their individual speeches, and then the jury will each get to either ask one finalist a question, or just make a statement. After that, the jury will vote for the winner, and it'll only take 5 votes to win this game. With that, Justin tells Alec that he can go first, so Alec thanks Justin and says that he wants to make it clear that he has been a huge fan of this show for many, many years now. Getting to Final 2 has been a huge dream for him all season, so getting here feels super rewarding regardless of the final outcome. To begin, he wants to make it clear that he based his whole game off of loyalty. This loyalty got him to where he is now. Starting off with his other Snake Tribe mates, he had a majority alliance that ran the pre-swap of the game. That alliance then entered Merge where they got to work together and take down the opposing alliance that many of the original Phoenixes tried to run. He had a lot of close connections this season. He had Betty, he had Garth, he eventually had Hannah, and most importantly, Steph. Without these people, he doesn't make it to Final 2. There were of course other people involved in his game that trusted him when they shouldn't have, those being Maria, Roland, Daniela, and Shelby. All of them tried to take him out, and he knew they were going to eventually want him gone. So, he had to make sure they couldn't get close to his own closest allies. Of course, there's also the complicated relationship with Jeannie and Julian. They were 2 people who realized what kind of control he had on this game, so they of course tried to flip the script on him. That's why he eventually needed to vote Jeannie out, and he tried to take Julian out as well. However, there were greater threats he needed out throughout the merge, so even though he failed to take out Julian at Final 10, that didn't bother him to try again later. His biggest obstacle this season was without a doubt Steph, and that's why he took her out last night. She has tried to maneuver the game like he did, so she of course needed to keep Julian on multiple occasions to weaken the alliance. That's why Julian is here tonight, but that's also confirmation that Julian did not get himself here. Steph did. If they all want a deserving, strong winner, they should pick him over Julian. That concludes his speech. Justin then thanks Alec, so then he asks Julian to go next. Julian thanks him and says that he honestly doesn't know where to start. As they all know, he wasn't really the one calling the shots every time. That was kind of Steph's job, and maybe even Alec can get some credit here and there. However, Alec is underestimating one key component, and that's perception. He never made much of an attempt to make himself a smaller target compared to other people. His own allies used him as a shield this whole game because it benefited them. He was always the target in front of everyone else. But that's enough of Alec now. Time to talk about himself. Starting off this game, he found his best friend for what he hopes is for life, Jeannie. The two of them linked up, got into the majority alliance, and they suddenly saw themselves in the middle of everything. They sadly got separated in the swap, but that's probably the stage of the game that really highlights the positive aspects of his game. Himself, Garth, and Sarah were up against 5 phoenixes, and guess what? He did whatever he could to socialize to survive. He found a crack within that group through Shelby, and the two of them worked together with one goal in mind, that being to either vote Daniela out or take out one of her closest allies. They needed to do the impossible, that being manipulate Maria and Roland into flipping. Both of them used their closeness to Maria, and that made her feel like she needed to take out David not just to keep her relationships from merge, but to also take out Daniela's clear number 1. After that crazy move, he entered merge where the snakes had the majority. However, just like in many of these tribal councils, he tried taking a shot at Alec but missed many times. But that doesn't tank his own chances of making it to Final 2. He knew he had Steph the whole time, so he actively ensured she would protect him. He literally survived a vote against Betty, who arguably wasn't seen as a huge threat for people compared to himself. Plus, it's also good to mention that while he never got rid of Alec, he understood he needed to take him out of the game because he was such a huge obstacle in his way. In fact, his own game was supposed to end last night because Alec had the final killer vote. And he was supposed to vote him out. But then, he didn't. He voted out Steph. So much for loyalty if he took out his ride or die. It just shows he made a scared move last night, and it contradicts his whole notion on loyalty he preached all season long. A vote for Julian is a vote for an underdog who relied on his social game and had enough strategic competency to remain aware of the gameplay happening around him. Justin then thanks Alec and Julian for their pitches, and now it's time they turn to the jury. Each of them many now ask one question to one finalist each, or they can just make a statement. With that, Jeannie can head up first, so she stands in front of the finalists and smiles at Julian. Jeannie then tells him she is so proud of him for making Final 2, which for a while seemed like the impossible. Since there are a lot of jurors here tonight that did not see his social game coming into play, she wants to ask what move he feels like he made in this game that he can claim as his own. Julian then says straight up that the Final 5 was his biggest move for his game. Like he mentioned before, he had a strong social connection to Steph, and he knew he needed her for his endgame. The vote was structured for himself to be voted out by Alec and Garth. However, he knew Steph did not want him gone, and Hannah actually approached him with a plan to vote Steph out. The one thing he needed to do was convince Steph to play her idol on him, which he learned existed in the first place because of Hannah. He used Hannah's own plan against her by convincing Steph to play her idol on him, and instead of voting out his number 1, he made sure to snipe Garth out. Garth was close to both Alec and Steph, and that was a problem for him. He knew Alec had immunity through his idol, so Garth was the only option there, and it wasn't a bad one. Jeannie thanks Julian for his great response, so she then sits back down. Adam then heads up next, and he says his question is for Alec. He wants to know how he managed to keep his connections with people so close until the very end. Alec then says he actually used some tools to help him strengthen his relationships. First, there's the advantage he found on day 1 that redirected votes on another player of his choosing. He told Garth, which solidified their trust on day 1. Then, jumping to Final 10, he found an idol at the Boba reward. He then shared this information with Steph after she just voted out Betty, and Steph continued to trust him. He also told Hannah to bring her closer, and that also worked. Hannah was like his other Garth. If he did not use the advantage and idol to strengthen his connections with those 3 people, he likely wouldn't be here tonight. Adam thanks him for the answer and then proceeds to sit down, so Betty heads up next. She then turns to Alec, telling him she is honestly very mad at him because he claims he's loyal when he's not. She thought she was his number one, but this whole time, he had multiple number ones. He never even took any of them to Final Two with him, even when he was capable of doing so last night. She wants to know why he's crying loyalty when he literally betrayed his own people. Alec then says he never actually betrayed his own allies apart from Hannah and Steph, but their vote-offs were necessary to get him to Final Two. He couldn't vote for Julian at Final Four, and then he knew he needed Steph out so she wouldn't beat him at Final Two. Betty then says she doesn't need to hear from him any further, so she then goes back to her seat. Maria then gets up next, and she asks Alec how much of his game relied on luck. Alec squints and says he doesn't know how to answer that since luck is such a background factor. He got lucky by finding his advantage and idol in the game. He got lucky that the Final 3 challenge was one he could win. He got lucky from time to time, but it's not like that luck carried him to the end like it did Julian. Maria then tells Alec that she respects his answer, so she goes back to her seat. Roland is then up next, so he says he doesn't have a question to ask. He just wants the two of them to know that he knows what he'll be doing with his vote tonight. There's one person in this Final Two who had a better overall pitch than the other. Their story is more impressive than the other, which could have been the opposite if that other person's speech was structured a lot better. Roland then sits down, and Julian comments to Alec he feels like he can throw up from how nervous he is. Shelby is up next, and she struts her way to the front and stares at Alec dead in the face. Alec stares back in silence, and the two just stare at each other without a word. Shelby then tells Alec that he should feel very shameful tonight. He made a huge mistake taking Julian to Final Two with him. Julian has been a fighter from start to finish while he got to lay back and rely on his connections with people. He should have just taken Hannah or Steph to Final Two because he could then claim that he used them from start to finish. But no, he made the cowardly move and took both of them out and instead took a wild card in this Final Two, that being Julian. He might underestimate Julian, but that dude has a story that can't compare to his own. Shelby then struts her way back to the bench, and Alec shakes his head and mutters that he's ready for the next question. Garth is up next, so he faces Julian and asks him to be more clear of what he means about having a strong social game if he was on the bottom for most of the season. Julian thanks him for this question since it's something many of them are probably wondering. Going into the season, he needed to be a social butterfly and also remain off of people's target lists. He wasn't targeted at any point in the pre-merge apart from maybe the swap, but even then, he managed to convince the Phoenixes not to take him out before Sarah and Garth. From his understanding through Shelby, Garth was the vote right before merge. Not himself. At merge, he then linked back up with Jeannie and Steph and never became a target until Alec wanted to take him out. But guess what? That plan failed for him because Betty was taken out. Betty wouldn't be out if it wasn't for his connections with some of those Phoenixes and also Steph. Maria and Roland both swore to him before they wouldn't vote him out because they liked him and felt trustworthy vibes around him. They actually relied on his vote at Final 9 when Maria was blindsided, but Steph gave him the heads up to flip on Maria so he could stay in the majority. Clearly, it worked, because Roland and Shelby were then the next targets at Final 8 and 7. When Alec argues that he never had control over his own game, that was quite incorrect. The social connections carried him through tough times. Sure, he didn't get his way every time, and maybe Alec got his way more, but the winner should be someone who was not only strategic, but also social. Alec solely relied on his early game connections, and one of them wasn't even going with whatever he wanted to do, that being Steph. So if anything, Alec is mainly still here because of Steph rather than his own doing. Meanwhile, little old Juju found new connections every other round that kept him from being the prime target of the tribe. Just look at the voting statistics. Alec received 21 votes this season, while he himself got just 7. Garth nods and wishes the two luck, so he sits back down. Hannah is then called up next, so she stands ahead of the two finalists and says she doesn't have much to say. All she wants to say is that she felt used this season, and usually that's just the fault of her own. But it seems there's one person here tonight preaching loyalty until the end when that's a straight-up lie. She suggests to Alec to own his moves while he still can, because Steph probably has a heavy hitter question for him. She then sits down, and Alec says wow out loud. Steph then stands up as the final juror, and she sighs and looks at Alec. She tells him that from day one, the two of them linked up with Garth and Sarah as a core 4 alliance. The goal was to dominate this whole game together. She doesn't want to be a bitter Betty tonight, but she's also very confused by what he means by playing a loyal game when he really did not. His intentions were clearly to cut his allies by the end so he can swoop in and win. She doesn't have a problem with that fact, but she has a problem with him not owning his moves in his final speech. She wants to know why he's afraid to own up to his moves. Alec then tells Steph he's honestly a bit stunned by the reception from the jury tonight because he feels like there shouldn't be a question as to why he should win against Julian. He doesn't feel like his own speech was full of lies. He did play a loyal game. Steph then cuts in and asks him if he had a secret final 2 with Julian then, but Alec says obviously not. Steph then asks him how that's being loyal then until the very end, and Alec says that the loyalty wasn't exactly needed anymore once he secured his own spot in Final 2. Steph then tells him that's not being loyal until the very end. He's hurting a bunch of his possible jury votes tonight because he is scared to admit he's a cutthroat conniving player. He's hiding behind this barrier of loyalty which doesn't even exist. Alec then asks her if this means he's not getting her vote tonight, and Steph tells him that she wants to vote for him because she knows how impressive he played from start to finish. However, he's not only lying to the jury about his intentions tonight, but he's also underestimating his competitor. There should not be a reason he feels this confident about winning tonight. Julian isn't a non-factor. But his overconfidence is blocking his self-awareness. If he doesn't win tonight, this is why he lost. Steph then goes back to her seat, and Alec looks down at the floor and covers his face. Julian meanwhile sits quietly and looks ahead, and Justin thanks the jury and finalists for their time here tonight. It's now time they get to the vote. As a reminder, the jury must vote for a winner. With that, it's time to vote for the last time in this game.
I'll tally the votes. Alec and Julian, one of you are about to be crowned the title of sole survivor here in China. But this wouldn't be a proper ending if it isn't a moment cherished next to their loved ones. Alec and Julian, let's bring out one of your closest people. Just to be clear, Alec is joined here with his wife by his side, while Julian is here with his mom. With that, let's get to this vote reveal. I will now read the votes for a winner, and it takes 5 votes to win. I'll read the votes. First vote. Julian. Alec. That's 1 vote Julian, 1 vote Alec. Alec. 2 votes Alec, 1 vote Julian. Julian. We're tied. 2 votes Alec, 2 votes Julian. Julian. That's 3 votes Julian, 2 votes Alec. Julian. 4 votes Julian, 2 votes Alec. The winner of Survivor China. Julian. A huge congratulations to our newest sole survivor, Julian. It was a pleasure hosting the 8th season of Survivor, and it's soon going to be yet another one incoming. Thank you all for tuning in, and we'll leave you off with a teaser for what to expect in our next season.
I see your red door and I want it painted black. No colors in